This is Becca Forsythe, and this is my final presentation for Women's Issues. The return of ABC's hit TV show, Roseanne, has taken the television world by storm once again. After taking 20 years off, she is back to tickle our funny bones and remind us what's really important. She has stayed true to her blue-collar beginnings and is again facing hard-hitting topics that affect real American families. Real families deal with real problems. Roseanne has dedicated her professional life to raising awareness of what real families go through.
Groundbreaking because it portrayed the working class in such a realistic way. Now this time around, you guys are taking on some pretty heavy topics. You're covering election, healthcare, unemployment, guns, the opioid crisis. How do you sit down and decide which ones you want to deal with? Because most people would stay away from a lot of this.
Not us.
Not them.
Yeah.
She's right, the working class has been the backbone of this country, and yet they seem to be absent from primetime TV. That is one of the reasons that it's particularly sad to realize the extent of rural poverty and the influences it's had on these families. Statistics show that rural America covers about 75% of the United States and counts for as many as 50 million Americans. Extreme poverty can be found in regional concentrations throughout Appalachia, the Mississippi Delta, the Black Crescent, and even Indian reservations. In these areas, 1/3 of the working poor families survive on less than 50% of the poverty rate. That's $12,000 a year for a family of 4. There's a lot of reasons for decline in rural America. There's the mechanization of farms, the globalization of corporations, the increased wealth gap in the income distribution, increases in service sector jobs, and the mass incarceration machine, just to name a few. The impacts felt by residents are many and extreme. They experience risks like neighborhood violence, family stress, low stimulation cognitively, and environmental toxins. Kids are at risk of decreased educational and academic achievement, which affects their adult earning capacity. Material hardship can lead to higher stress in the house, parents not doing their part, and kids having emotional dysregulation. The list of emotional problems that kids tend to experience is long and difficult. But when we add race, the list gets even longer. Discrimination and racism can muddy the picture for sure. One of the reasons we love Roseanne is because she makes it so topical. She tackles so many tough issues like politics, healthcare, gender roles, reproductive rights, and the effects of military deployment. Let's take a look at how some of these intersect with rural poverty.
Politics is the outside world, is the local world, and the way it affects our family is what we focus on most. It's the families dealing with everything.
The folks in Roseanne's family are still arguing about the election, as is true in much of America. It seems that the voice coming from rural America is changing. Rural farming communities used to be staunchly Republican, attracted by economic individualism and motivated by traditional family values that align with conservative principles. The changing face of rural counties adopting recreational economies, which target local environmental amenities and service industries, have changed the electorate as well. These countries are becoming more liberal-leaning and Democrat voting, leading to more swing states and a more unpredictable political map. Dan puts it well when he says,
Without going into it too far, the middle class is getting squeezed. The jobs are disappearing fast. They're service economy jobs. A lot of skilled labor is being displaced.
They also tackle healthcare.
No, I don't need it. I'm young and vibrant.
And they're off.
Insurance coverage and access to medication is a big deal in rural America, particularly for baby boomers like Roseanne. She falls into the baby boomer category, which has been described as a pig in the python for the infrastructure of our country, expanding and contracting to meet the needs of this large birth cohort. Baby boomers are experiencing more chronic pain, using assistive technology more often, and paying for it. Costs for chronic back pain alone equaled $35.7 billion from 2006 to 2007. Imagine what happens when you add lack of finances and access to these problems.
What happened to the rest of our candy?
Funny story. Our insurance don't cover what it used to, so I got half the drugs for twice the price.
The changing face of gender roles have also found a place on the new show.
Do you feel like you're a boy or a girl?
A boy.
So what's up with the girls' clothes?
This just feels like me. I like colors that pop.
Kids who fall into the LGBTQ category face a number of difficulties. Research shows that schools themselves introduce oppression from the attitudes and behaviors observed from students and staff, interactions with the community, policies and programs at the school, and the physical environment itself. These experiences can lead to low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, and low academic achievement. In rural areas in particular, hostility and aggression typically characterize the treatment of LGBTQ kids, creating isolation and fragmentation. It's a good thing Mark has his grandmother as an ally.
I have an announcement. I'm having a baby.
A baby what?
There's this really nice woman who wants me to have her baby. I'm going to be her surrogate.
We watch as Becky tries to enter a contract for reproductive services. She's going to pay off her bills with the money she's making for helping a couple have a baby. The doctor soon discovers that she's too old and she can't participate. She is shocked. This is a normal reaction for women over 40. We have built the belief in our minds that since we exerted imaginary control over contraception for much of our lives, we believe we have the key to fertility. We believe that we will have a slow decline to infertility and menopause. In reality, around 35, the female body starts to shut down the factory rather quickly, and most women find themselves infertile way before menopause kicks in. If the doctors had completed the process for IVF, Becky's biological age of 42 would produce less than a 1% chance that it would have resulted in a live birth. When we add the scarcity and material hardships she has experienced, it wouldn't be hard to imagine that the outcomes could be negative. The show also highlights DJ living at home with his daughter while his wife serves in the military. DJ represents one of the 665,619 spouses with more than 1.12 million dependent children who have experienced separation from their family member due to active duty deployments. Deployment presents several hardships for families left behind, like financial hardships, academic and social instability, multiple moves, changing schools, and the anxiety surrounding the danger the absent parent is facing. The kids suffer an increased risk for substance abuse, binge drinking, and tobacco use. When the machinations of rural poverty enter the picture, the outcome gets even muddier for these kids. Roseanne can help us reduce stress and make us laugh for a half hour, but many of these problems need bigger solutions with advocacy and action at the core. With rural poverty so deeply entrenched and persistent, there are pathways that can be taken that will reinvest in the human capital of the forgotten youth living in rural America and give them the tools to remove the barriers put in place by their backgrounds. Investments in subsidized childcare, more technical job training, like metal fabrication and media communication or health sciences, can improve the job sector, while mental health and substance abuse outlets can help support kids when they develop. Hopefully, voices like Roseanne's will continue to remind us of the valuable treasures that sometimes get lost in rural America. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.